Hello, everyone. Uh, I'm Anjana Rathnayake. During this webinar session, I'm going to discuss how we can manage our inventory within Sage application in a better way with a better control. So, during this session, I'm going to cover the following content. First thing, how we can set up our inventory control and our defaults, and later, how we can do our transactions, IC transactions such as receipts, ETL usages, shipments, and the IC transfers. And then later, I'm going to discuss how these transactions will relieves you via the reports, how it shows you via the reports. So these three key areas I'm going to cover. Uh, and let's move to the Sage application. And as you can see in the Sage module, Sage, you can see the inventory control module. In this module, you can see there are various sub-modules in there. So that's why I have chosen some key areas to cover because due to a limited time period. So first thing, as I told you previously, how to set up the controls. So basically, all the inventory control related defaults and controls are defined in this IC setup area. In this IC setup, you can see a functionality called options. So in these options, you're gonna define your controls, processing controls. You can see in this IC options window, there are various type of tabs. First tab will always show you the company informations to have a better understanding on which company are we doing these changes and now in which company are we setting up these controls. And in the next step, you can see the processing. Actually, in the processing, it will always controls how the transaction processing should happen. And in there, you can see the functional currency. Actually, these currencies I'm using. So I'm using the sample database. It shows my sample company functional currency as CAD CAD, and it has a multi currency. But this will differ based on the company that you logged in, and these currencies will fetch the details from the company profile. So that's why you can see this currency information has been comes in this way. So as you can see, there are in the processing options, you can see there are some controls which is relates to quantities and locations, especially if we talk about the first thing, this allow fractional quantities. But actually, this fractional quantities means if we want to use an item with a decimal quantity, like not a rounding value. If you want to have a quantity with a decimal value, by checking this functionality, it will system will allows you to do the decimal to enter the quantities in a with some decimal places. So this is a one-time check functional. So once you tick it, you cannot untick because that's a control which has brought by the databases. So that's why the fractional quantities is there for you. And the next thing is if you want to have a restriction where one item in one location which should not use by another location, you can control that option via here, allowing this item for all locations means whatever the items that you create that can be accessible from any location. So that controls by here. And the next important thing is the maintaining the negative inventory values, negative inventory stock. If you want to maintain the negative inventory levels, you can check this option here. And then receipt, and the next one is allowing receipts of non-stock item, which means as you can see in many inventory console, you will have the non-stock items. Though you set up the non-stock items, you can exclude that non-stock item to a stock count. But if you want to still use it for some kind of transaction, such as GRN, system will allow you to do that due to this functionality. So by picking this, it will allow you to do the transactions for non-stock items. So and the next other options are basically to restrict the mistakes. Actually, by keeping the transaction history, it will allow you to revert the transaction, deleted or removed transaction at any given time. And this prompt to delete during posting means if this option is allowed, so then you can delete any transaction during the postings. So others are relates to the posting levels to control the postings. Yeah, let's move to the items tab. In this items tab, it will always controls the item structure segments. Whatever the segments that you create here, that segments can be used when you're creating an item structure. So I'll show in the next slides how to create a item structure and item segments. Likewise, in the next window, it is the place where it controls the document number series for each IC transaction type, such as assemblies, transfers, adjustments, shipments. You can see what is the next number with a preferred prefix, and the aging periods also you can see here. These aging buckets can be changed at any given time. And the next thing, the costings. Actually, in these costings, this will controls where this costings should calculate. Either it should calculate at the day end processing or in each transaction posting. So this will help you to do the costing at a certain point. And the next two columns are for the serialization and lot tracking. Actually, that also maintains by these options. And optimizer is a new window where it allows you to do the minimum. It will allow you to define the margin factors, and this will help you to do for the reorder levels. And yeah, that is the this is the window so where you controls your inventory related transactions and the defaults, and you can change whatever the controls at any given time if you have the necessary access with you, except the fractional quantities. So I'll move to the next window where you can create the item structures. Actually, the item structures mean different items has different item structures that will differs based on the company expectations. So basically, whatever the structures that you create here, that will be assigned into the item master in item number. So since this is a sample database, you can see there are many structure codes here. So though I selected any structure code, it will always have the segments what I have defined in my options. That's why I said like this segment will always controls over the options, and this is very important. That's why I said this is very important window to have with you, so then you can have a better control. So likewise, you can see there are so many structures, and you can define. This is a user defined tag. Actually, this is not a standard thing. You can define whatever the necessary structures that you want. You can create whatever the necessary structures, whatever the required structures by your own, and but always you need to use whatever the segments that you're creating here in the options here. In these options, in the segments here. So always, whatever, though you create any structure, the sage always that item structure should consist with all these segments what you're defining it over here. So yeah, so this is the item structure I was talking, and you can define whatever the length that you require for each segment with a segment separator. So I'll show you how these segments will help you to create an item, and how these segments will help you to have a better item numbering. Right, I'll move to the next step. This is a segment code. Actually, segment codes, in the segments code where it contains all the values, all the necessary values that you can use. As I told you before, these segments were created in the options, and these segments, each segment can have many values. So whatever the values are giving here, you can use all these values at the item numbering levels. So in my item numbering, in my item structures, I have these segments. So in these segments, I have different values. So based on these values, I can have a better item identification. So that's why these segments will always helping you because these segments are also like user defined via segments. So you can use whatever any segments that you want. Right. And next, I'll go to the locations. Basically, the locations, this is the place where you define your whatever the inventory locations. So though it can be a physical or a logical location, all these locations, if it is operating and if you want to monitor all these locations and all the transactions in all the locations, so those location needs to be defined in here. So this is the place where you define all these things. First step, you can define the basic informations for each location, and next thing also the same. But in this integration option, this is a very important window. This is a very important tab because there will be some companies who's monitoring these specific transactions with a separate account. So if you are maintaining a separate GL account for separate location, by having this option, it will allow you to do so. So because let's say if you want, if this location is reviewed with region number 10, so if you are having a inventory account, and at the end of this account, if you have a if you have this segment will always identifies, okay, whatever the transaction which comes from this location should always goes to that account what you are defining. So I'll explain in with another session how in the GL setup how we can define all those things, because I cannot explain you right now because the GL model is a separate module. But this is the place where you define if you need to fulfill that kind of a requirement. So you want to have a different GL account for a different location. This is the place where you define it. So that is the location. And the next important thing is the category. So we know that any of the items that you're creating in here should should have a item category. So item category is a way of defining the range, defining the item range. So in each category will contain the P&L accounts. So by let's say if one item was containing this item category as an example, so whatever the P&L accounts which is related to this category code will always automatically assign to that item. So later if you are using that item into any kind of transaction, so those transaction amounts will automatically hits on these accounts what we are defining. So I'll explain you this how this category will help you at the item master level. So I'm going to cover that part. So this is the place where you define all the item categories. So always you need to define all the P&L accounts here: sales, returns, cost of goods sold, cost variance, damaged goods, internal usage. All these account needs to be defined here before you save it. And same as with the taxes. If in each category is having a taxes, you can uh, define it over here. And if it is, should have a default price list, that can be defined over here. So what will happen is when we are assigning a particular item category into item, whatever the attached price list code will automatically come to that item. So that's why this option is there. And also if you want to, this is more relates to the sales side. So if you want to have the commissions, if you want to allow this category for commissions, you can do it over here with this kind of commission rate, or else you can define the whatever the preferred commission rate over here. and you need to save it. And the next option is the accounting. So this is a very important window to have in the inventory control module. So this is the place where it contains all the balance sheet accounts based on the costing method. So basically, all the concept, whatever the concept that you create here should have a costing method, and you can see there are so many costing methods here. FIFO, LIFO, moving average, most recent cost, standard cost, whatever the costing method that you're using, you can define, you should define here when you're creating the accounting set code. So, and then you can define the inventory control account. So many clearing accounts are here, and uh, the other expense account, whatever the accounts that you're defining here, always will attach to this accounting set. And when at the item creation, I'll show you, once you define, once you attach this accounting set into that item. So when you're doing any transaction, any purchasing or any receipt GRN or any shipment or any other transaction, always whatever the necessary, whatever the amounts will always hits on those accounts. Uh, and whatever the costing method which is attached to this accounting set will be always automatically attached on each item. So I'll explain when we are doing the item creation. So yeah, these are the really important windows to have. So that's why this IC setup window is very important for you. Uh, Yeah, other than that, next thing is the price list code. So this is will help you when you define the item pricings, especially. So you can see there are so many item price lists, and they are with so many components. You can see if you want to do these pricings based on the quantity or based on the weight, or the way you expect, you can define it. And if you are having a discount for each pricing, if you are calculating the selling price based on the discount or the markup cost or whatever the necessary component, you can set it up over here. And if it is having a rounding value, or if in each price list pricing should have decimals, you can set it up over here. Like where these are the mandatory things to set up. So that's in the later, these controls, whatever the things that are defining here, will comes to the party when you're doing the transaction. So that's why this setup option, IC setups, is the most important window. If we are maintaining, if you want to maintain our items, if you want to maintain our transactions in a better way, so these things should set up in a proper manner. So some other things are there. The discount percentages. There are 5 discount percentages you can use. This is the standard option you have. You can define whatever the necessary discount codes, discount with the discount percentages over here. And yeah, some if you want to show the discount based on the prior percentage as a percentage or amount, you can define it over here. If you are selecting it for a customer type, based on the customer type or the volume discounts, if you are determining the price, you can set it up over here. And price checks and taxes are there. And this is the place you create and you maintain your price list codes. So these price list codes will attach to the items, and then you can attach that items into a certain customer. So sorry, certain customers. So then you can maintain your contract pricing. I'll show you how to do the pricing and how these price list code will impact on the item price. I'll show you in the next session. I'll show you the later. Okay, and this option, this GL integration option, is the place where we control the postings between operational between IC module and the GL module. So basically, this functionality you can see in all the modules within the Sage. This GL integration is there. So this is the place where we control all the postings between subledger and the GL, or the operational module and the GL. So this is the place where you define the postings. So based on the way you define the controls, you can I mean you can see how the way you controls over here only, the way you define the controls over here only, the postings will happen. So you can see in which point the GL transaction should happen. So once you do a gain processing or on request. So basically on request, I'll show you how this GL batches will create. And though you want to maintain a separate posting batch, that will always create a new batch with a with the appropriate segment with the appropriate source code. And if you want to add the newly created transactions into a existing batch, then you can set it up by this option. Yeah, and this is the place where you do the consolidation. So which means this will help you to minimize the entries, because if there are more than 100 or 200 or 300 or 1000 entries within the one batch, it's very difficult to monitor and post one by one. So by defining the consolidation point, what will happen is this will always create a one entry by consolidating all those transactions. So these consolidations can control by the account, by the fiscal period, or account fiscal period and the source. So this is a very important phase to have, and you can see the source type and source ledgers in here. So, and this is a very important phase when you are transferring the required information from an operational module to a GL batch. This is the place to define it. Actually, what will happen is, let's say if you are doing a receipt, if you are posting a receipt from the accountants who's trying to post the GL batches, they want to refer to the particular transaction number without going to the operational module from the GL entry. If they can view it, that will be really helpful to them when they are doing the posting. So this is the place where we do it. If you these things will can be changed at any given time, but always this will impact one. Let's say if you're doing any change into a GL integration into a certain transaction type, that will impact from the next transaction that you're doing. But this will not impact on the past transaction which you have already posted into the GL. So yeah, you can link whatever the necessary informations that you want to monitor within the GL entries. You can transfer to here. You can set it up in here, and that will transfer the necessary information into the GL entry, such as the location. If you want to monitor, if you're monitoring the shipment details and what is the shipment number and everything is there. And if you want to enter the shipment number, and by monitoring that, if you are posting it, then this will help you. So then what the accountants who are posting it, they don't have to come to the IC module, and they don't have to check the shipment one by one and find it. So I think this is a very helpful phase, helpful tab. And the other two things are, the unit of measures that you're using with each items that needs to be defined over here. So then only you can attach this unit of measure into the item master with the certain conversion factors. And same as with the weight unit of measure. So basically, if you are maintaining the weight, the ton, kilos, metric tons, whatever the necessary weight unit of measures, you can define it over here. Always, if you want to insert a record, make sure you are pressing the insert button in the keyboard. So then you will be able to add the values. Okay, this is the IC setup. So this is the place where we define as the controls and the defaults. So I hope you got you gain some experience, you gain some knowledge about this step. So let's move to the item master. So this is the actually this is the place where you define all the basic informations relates to an item, relates to a location, relates to the customer related items, vendor related items, reorder levels. This is the place where you define all those things and the pricings, all these things. So that's why I'm saying item master window. Item master window is this, but item master related window, all the things are here. Will always, all will always be the basic and most important informations are catering in this window. Uh, right. You can see this is the place where we define the item uh, based on the item number. So basically, you can see this plus mark. This is the place you create your item, and this zoom bar. This is the place where you can select your structure. So by selecting the structure, this will automatically fetch and this will automatically takes the values inside that and it will create the item. So then you don't have to waste your time, checking on the structure code and coming back to the items and selecting all. So what will happen is if you select the whatever the certain segments over here with the necessary values. But okay, I might have some other details also to fill. Right now, some. So what will happen is this will automatically takes the item numbers and by fetching the structure code by values what I have defined in Zoom. So I don't have to go to this setup and have to go to categories or in this window I don't have to come and select and I don't have to do that also because I can select it from the Zoom button and it will get you the necessary item number into here. So then later I can select the counting set and whatever the necessary things over here. So these are the place where I define my unit of measures, price list, and accounting set code. And if it is a stock item, you have to check it over here. And if it is a sellable item, if you want to, use this when you're selling the goods, you can check it over here. If you're maintaining a serial number or lot number, you can define it. And yeah, all the other basic information you have to define it over here. And the next phase, next place, you define your unit of measure. Whatever the unit of measures that you use for one particular item, you have to define it over here. It might contain more than one unit of measures, but all the unit of measures that you are using for this particular item, you have to give it into here. Then only you can do a purchasing or a customer order creation or any shipment or any other things on based on the unit of measure, then only it will allow you to do so. Otherwise, you have to come to this item master and see what are the unit of measure that you're having. Because this information will controlled by the system from any window that you're using this item. So this is very important have to have. And the next thing is the taxes. If you are sure maintaining the tax informations based on the items, whatever the tax authorities that you using for this item, you need to define it over here. Yeah. So this is the place where you do so. And if you are having a bulk items to create, this import option will help you to upload the items into the item master. So then the system, once this processing got completed, the system will automatically create the item. So yeah, this is a very helpful. Though this option will help you to create more than any amount of items at once. So yeah, this option is really good to have. Yeah, so and this is the item master window, and you can see the costing method. The costing method, this method comes from the accounting set. So whatever the accounting set that you are selecting, whatever the attached costing method inside that account set will be always comes to the item master, into that particular item. So yeah, you can see. Uh, and this kitting item, if you're like maintaining a kitting item, it should not be a stock item. So that's why the kitting item is not available at the moment for this item, because it's a stock item. Yeah. So let's move to the other windows quickly. Uh, right. This vendor detail. So vendor detail is the place where it maintains the items based on the vendor. So basically, one item can be purchasing by many vendors, and that particular vendor might have different item numbers with the different cost. So all these informations, all these you know informations will be controlling from here. Uh, you can have many information, many vendor information for one particular item. So as you can see, it has the vendor cost with the certain currency and the quantity that you are ordering, the minimum quantity that you're ordering from this vendor. Uh, yeah, some basic information. This can have more than one records. Yeah. And like similar to the vendor data's window, this is maintaining the customer data's window, and this can have the different informations. Actually, these are very basic information. Not much relates to the pricing or the cost, the pricing or the quantities. Just we are maintaining the customer item numbers. To maintain the customer item numbers, this is the place where you define and keep that. And the next window is the item price. So this window always maintain the item prices based on the price list, and one item can have many price lists with many pricings. So this is the place. This by clicking this new, you can create a price for a certain item, and always this price list code. So this price list code, this is the place that where we defined over here. Whatever the information that we have given here, this can be allowed in here. So basically, based on the price list code, you can give a certain price. So all the price calculations are controlling by this window. So you can see the how this pricing has been done. So how the price calculation is going to be happens, and what is the basic price that you are giving, and what is the selling price that you're giving. Yeah, you can choose the way of doing using the way of doing the sales price. You can choose a certain point, right, and the markup factors, costings, the markup unit, how many decimal places you have, like, and for the discount column also the same, how the discount should calculate, which point you getting which percentage. If it is having a rounding method, we can set the rounding methods, and selling how this discount will calculate uh, on the selling price. Likewise, the taxes, if you have a taxes, you can maintain over here. So by clicking the price list code, some information has been automatically transferred here to here, but some other information you have to give it in here. And by adding this, you can have a certain item. You can have a certain price for a item, and yeah, this is the place where you control it. And this is a kind of overview also. If you want to view what is the price you have given uh, to an item from a one price list, you can see what is the price list and the price that you have given. So what is the selling price? What is the markup cost? What is the markup factor? How the discount has been happened? Yeah, all those things can be monitored over here. If you want to delete it, any price level, any pricings, you can delete it from here. So this is the place where you can where you define the item pricings, and let's see how these item pricings going to be attached to a certain customer. So these copy items and update items are very similar to this item pricing. So if you want to copy and one from one item pricing into another item pricing, you can do it from here. And if you want to update the same item pricing with a different value, you can do it from here. So this contract pricing, this is the place where you define one item pricing with many customers. And so based on the customers, if you are giving different item prices, you can give it over here. So what I'm doing is I'm selecting a customer and I'm selecting an item. Then if the once I select the price list code, whatever the price list that I have defined over here, it has automatically transferred to here. So whatever the price that I have defined in item pricing has been automatically come here. So you can add this item into a certain custom. So but one item price can have with many customers. So this is a many to many information maintained. So it has given you that facility. So yeah, you can see how this contract pricing should happen based on the discount percentage or based on the customer type or into a fixed price. You can maintain it. And once you add it, this will be coming and attaching within the customer. And when you're doing an order entry, when you want to select an item, that price list, what we have attached to the item, that selling price will comes automatically. And that option has been facilitated from here. So this is how we do the item pricing. So it's very simple. So this has like helped you a lot when you're doing, especially when you're doing the order entries. Yeah, and this location detail. So this is the place where you define. Actually, this is the place where you can have a like understanding on how much of quantity which has it has like maintained from one location. As an example, if you select a one item, it will shows you how many stock is there at the moment for each location. You can see what is the on-hand quantity at the moment and how many it has been used for a sales order, how many it has been used for a purchase order, and what was the costing unit of measure, cost of a unit of measure, and what was the standard cost, what was the most, if this actually this comes, the method that the costing method that you're using, so that will differ. So what is the standard cost, what is the most recent cost, what is the average cost, what was the last cost, and how many quantities available at the moment for a shipment, like first. And you can define the lead time also here. So this lead time will help you when you're doing a reorder level, when you're maintaining a proper reorder level. So this lead time and the minimum inventory quantity will help you to do so. So if you're maintaining the reorder levels, obviously these lead times and minimum quantities will help you a lot. So yeah. So this is a place where you can have understanding on how the quantity has been maintained for each location. And there are some manufactured items. So these bombs manufactured items are like, I'm not using that much, so I'm not going to talk about that thing. But these functionalities also like do a lot if you are having a manufacturing part with your operation. So obviously by defining the bombs and by defining the manufacturing items, it will keep whatever the necessary informations over here. So that will help you to monitor your manufacturing operations also. So reorder quantities is the place where you define your reorder levels based on the location, based on the item. Uh, so so you can have a better understanding on in which one you need to do a reorder from a certain supplier. So it has given you the results. Uh, right? Based on the item and the location, it has you can maintain, you can define the levels, right? Okay, let's move to one of an important window, item wizard window. Actually, this window will help you to reduce the time when when you're creating the item, because what all these now you were giving some information in the items, in the vendor details, customer details, pricing. So all these things can be maintained from can be catered from one window. So and that window is this item wizard. So because this has been there to simplify the tasks of an user. So this has like the things that you're defining here, that will automatically register the items. And in the next window, you can see what was the unit of measures and what are the taxes and what is the item number that you should use, and how the stock has been maintained for each location, what is the vendor details, what is the pricings, what is the customer contract pricings, what is the manufacturing items, what is the customer details. All these things, reorder levels, all these things can be maintained by and one window, and this window is this. So this item wizard is very, very helpful. Whatever the things that you do it by going to all these windows, that can be do it by and one window. So this window is helping you to reduce your reduce the time. So I think it's an important requirement to fulfill when you are using an system. So it will always help you to do that. So yeah. And the next thing, serialization and lot number, serialization and lot tracking. So basically, serialization and the lot trackings are maintained. All the lot numbers, all the transactions are maintained from here. Actually, you can see whatever the transaction which has been used by each lot, each serial number. You can check it over here, and what are the transactions. And these things can be do it in the lot inquiry also. I'll go to that window and show you. And you can go to the item master and see what was the item on which was attached to this serial number, and lot number also the same. Okay. Select. You can see what were the transactions and what were the items which is related to each lot. And this optimized inventory also help you to monitor how this inventory transaction has been happened for, and what kind of a quantity was maintained, and with the cost. So if you want to take a summary, you can take a summary, and the bottom you can see what was the current totals of each item for a certain period of time. And then we'll move to the next window, actually this is the place where you do the transaction for each item. These receipts and shipments are very similar to the purchase order receipts and order entry shipments. Actually, it also do the same. If you want to, adjust your stock. If you are not comfortable with the inventory adjustment window, still you can do these adjustments via the receipts and the shipments. So if you want to add, if you want to, add the stock into your inventory, you can create a receipt. And you can select an item. You can select your location, and once you give the necessary quantity, it has fetched the unit cost, and all those cost has been comes to here. And you can, if you are selecting a vendor, you can select it. Otherwise, if you can save and do the postings. And this will, once you do the postings, this will adjust your quantity for particular item, and you can see the receipt currency with the exchange rates. And once you select the vendor, all these currencies will comes to the party, and the dates that you're selecting, the references that you're giving, all these information can be taken. Yeah. If you want to check the details, you can check the quantities without scrolling here and there. By clicking this detail option, you can see the informations which is inside this line. And yeah, and same as with the shipments window. This shipments window, what it does is it will reduce the stock. If you want to reduce the stock, you can do a shipment. You can add the certain quantity, and it has given you the price. This price list is there with the item. Though I selected the, let's say if I'm selecting an item, yes, based on the currency, the currency from I cannot add that at the moment. But this currency can be changed. Then only I can add the customer to here. Yeah, if it is having a manufacturing item number, that will comes to here. So it has comes from here to here. So I can save and I can post it. And yeah, this is how you reduce the stock from your inventory. You can do the shipment or the receipts. And then the internal usage. This internal usage are there. If you are internally using an item, you can raise the internal usage. When you entering an internal usage, always you need to specify the item that you are using, and you can create the used location and the quantity that you have used. Though these costings are not comes to here, but still it calculates. And this usage account. So this usage account comes from the category that you have selected. So whatever the category which is in that used item, and whatever the internal usage account in that item has comes to here. So this is how you do a usage. If you are using the item, you can select the item and you can give the necessary quantity into here. But though it's not showing you the cost, still it calculate the cost, and it will allow you to do the postings. And this is a very important phrase to have. This is the place where you do the adjustments for each item. If you want to, there are certain types of adjustments. I'll show you that. Right? There are. If you want to add only the if you want to increase on just only the quantity, you can increase the quantity. If you want to increase both, you can increase both. If you want to add, increase just only the cost, you can select the cost. And if you want to add, if you want to decrease the same, you can do the same also here. You have to do is just to select the appropriate adjustment type and providing you the and selecting the location. Obviously, the location is here. And this bucket type is always comes for the items which is having a LIFO or FIFO costing method. So basically, this bucket types, there are three type of bucket types here: offset bucket, specific bucket, product. Product is not using that much, but offset bucket and specific bucket are using. The difference between offset bucket and the specific bucket is, let's say, if an item has no stock at all, but it is having a cost. But once you do a GRN or something, if you are giving if you are adding, obviously you are giving a cost from that purchase, that from that GRN, and whatever the cost which has been picked from that transaction, from that receipt, will be override on the cost on this existing item cost, and that cost will replace if you are having the offset bucket when you're doing the adjustment. But if you're having a specific bucket, it will take an average cost or the yes, it will always take the average cost. But if you're selecting the offset bucket, what will happen is it will always replace the cost with the recent. Right? We like we are saying, the most recent cost will always fix if the bucket type is offset bucket. If you were doing an adjustment, so that thing is there. So make sure you are selecting the correct bucket type and the quantity. Since I have just given you the quantity only, I have to do both. Otherwise, if I'm just selecting only the cost, I have to select the relevant cost over here. So yeah, cost adjustment is there. If I'm selecting the both, I can do it, the cost and the quantity. This has been like it has got a certain cost, but we can change that cost, and the average cost has been taken. So we can save and post it. So I'll show you all these adjustments, how this impact on the reports. So this is how you do an adjustment. Others are the transfers. When you're doing an intersite transaction, you have to cater that in that transaction into the system from this window. So this is the place where you do it. If you're there are three types of transactions. One is transfer, transit transfer, transit receipt. So all these transaction types are there. If based on your operations, you can select the certain transaction type. And if you are having any proration method, you can select the proration methods based on the quantity or the weight or the cost or the or if you want to prorate it manually, you can do it that way. Uh, right. Then I'm selecting the item from which location I'm picking the item, to which location I'm transferring. The first quantity should be, I guess, more than 0. And if you're doing a partial, if you're doing a partial transfer, this will shows the outstanding quantity. So always once you select the quantity, obviously when you in order to do a transfer, you need to have the stock from the sending location. That's the mandatory thing to have. And other things are conversion factors, rough measures, costings, rate is there. I can do the posting. So I have done the posting. So you can see the status code posted. Right. So that's how you do the transactions for each. That's how you do the transactions using the items via the inventory control module. So basically, this assembly also, like, you can, if you are doing the assemblies, you can do it by adding the item number and the BOM. So since I have not set up the BOMs and manufactured items, I'm not using this function. But you can do it. You can do it. You don't have a manufacturing module for that. You can do it. And this place. So this post transaction window is a place where you can force to create the where you can force to post the transaction. If you're like, if you're seeing a report and some transaction has not been posted to the GL or to the, or it has not been updated the stuff, you can select the particular transaction type and you can select the particular document number, the receipt number. If you are posting the receipt number, you can do the process. Then it will process whatever the necessary posting of whatever the transaction which has not been updated in order to update the stock. You can do this process and you can update manually your stock. But most probably once you do a day end processing, you will be able to get a updated stock, and I'll show you how you can do the day end processing. Actually, what some most of the companies are using not manually running this day end processing, but like as an option, you can run this day processing if the stocks has not been synchronized or if the stock has not been updated. If there is an issue with the pricings or the costings or anything, you can just have a run and see whether the reports are getting updated, whether stocks are getting updated, and whether it's providing the expected outputs. But you don't have to do it each and every time. End of the day, you can run this processing. Yes, and the next thing is, just go here and process it. And before you process it, you can see what was the last time it has processed the range. So nothing to worry. You can just check and post it. Check and process it. And this is the place where you can force to create the GL batches. Actually, these options are there to help to do the posting if an user is having a bulk work. If the users are posting so many transactions at once, there is a possibility for some transaction to not to get posted at that time. So, and there is a possibility for some due to that, there is a possibility to not to create the relevant GL batches for that transaction. So in that case, there is an option to do a process. But once you do a process, the GL batch which was got stuck will be forcing and will be get created. So this option is there. So but other than these two options, do not use these two options here. So because this will remove the history. So then once you remove the history, you will not be able to get the relevant informations within the reports. And other things are related to the lot reconciliations and serializations are there, quarantine also there, but I'm not going to cover those things now because due to limited time period. Then I'm quickly moving to the physical inventory also. Actually, this will help you a lot when you're doing a physical count. Basically, a physical count is there uh, to help you to do a proper reconciliation between your physical count and the system count. What will happen is it from this worksheets, this can this will generate the particular worksheets, and these worksheets can be printed over here, and these worksheets can get a print over these worksheets as an Excel, and then once you do a physical stock count, you can include those stock into this sheet, and from this sheet from this window you can import that. You can import that worksheet. So then what we'll do is system will automatically do a reconciliation on your stock, and then it will automatically create the adjustments if they found a difference on each item. So it's a very good thing, and it's a very good facility which has been provided by the Sage software. So if the system can do the item reconciliation automatically, that will obviously uh, reduce the time of an user. So that option is there, and this is the place where the system do the inventory reconciliation. So you can take the inventory reconciliation report at any given time with the certain information that you have, and you can do a reconciliation post. Once you do a reconciliation post, that will create the adjustments, and it will that will reconcile your inventory and update the stock accordingly. So these options are also there. Inventory count also will giving you a system count based on the locations, and all these things are there. Other than that, there are certain pricing reports, there are stock control reports, there are transaction reports also there. I would say in these pricing options, you can use a import report as your selling price, which will provide you the price information related to each item. Uh, and there are some other reports also, but I cannot go through one by one show you at the moment. I'll show you one or two. So if you take this report, yeah, it has the item with the certain unit cost, and what is the costing method, and what was the basic price, with the margins, with the discounts, percentages, and everything is there. You can use this report as a pricing report, pricing margin report. If you want to submit it to the management, you can take this report and you can have a review on that, and you can submit it. And there are, if you take the parameters of this report, there are so many parameters that you can select. If you want to get this report in from the price list, from the locations, you can do it. And same as with the statistics and markup analysis also, you can just have a try on that. Just go to these reports and see what it produced. If you are saying, if you are feeling like if you want to change this report, just get back to us so that we will do the customizations on your request, and set up reports like the place where it produce the control reports, whatever the controls, whatever the master data, it provides by these reports. And if you move to the stock control reports, the stock control reports will benefited um, for the management, like especially this aging report and the inventory movement report. This inventory movement report, this can be printed, this can be generated based on the location, this can be consolidate the locations and giving you a summary, and based on the function of the source currency, based on the cost, based on the location, and take a report. I'll generate you the report, and this can be take into a period, taken based on the period wise or the date wise, transaction date wise, and the fiscal period wise. Like I'm taking the report at the moment, certain period, and it will always shows you the costing and the opening cost and the opening closing cost and the opening stock and the closing stock. This will provide you the relevant information with the transactions which is happened on each date for the particular location. So in this location, you can see the items with the transactions and what was the transactions and what was the quantity, what was the quantity and the stock cost, what was the balance. And the end of this report, you can see what was the closing balance, what was the closing quantity, the closing balance and the closing stock for one location. And this can be generated based on the items, based on the locations, likewise. Yeah, so many things are there, but you can go to this report and just generating the reporting it by giving the different parameter values. So then you will be able to get how this report operates, what kind of information it gives you, and same as with the age inventory also. This will give you an idea about the how the item has been aged. So this will be like help you a lot, especially whatever the information which comes on these reports will help you a lot to take the better decisions. So I think, though I covered small few sub models, it has a lot to say. It has a lot because those areas are the backbone, especially this IC setup. It is the backbone of the item control, inventory control. So by setting the options and the controls in a better way, you can do a better management. You can have a better management on your items, and I hope you gained a lot. You gained a lot of ideas, a lot of features about the inventory control. So I hope you gain some knowledge. If you have any concern, if you have any queries, just get back to us. And thanks for participating for the session, and have a great day.